Arkansas, all sports. It's more sports.
All right, what's up, everybody? Glad you're with us. What a day already on this Sunday. And got to say, not a surprising day and not surprising news that we got this morning. I was actually on my way back from Fayetteville from the game last night and got the news around Alma. And I was like, all right, well, we're going to have an emergency show today to talk a little bit about this and what actually went on last night and yesterday. But went to the game yesterday, and it was clearly obvious last night that something had to happen. It was painfully obvious during the game, but would they make that move? Would they go ahead and get rid of Sam Pittman right now and eat the extra $3 million if they'd have waited a little bit longer? The kicker would have gone into his contract, would have saved them some money, but I think it was painfully obvious for the rest of the season and for the fan base, you had to do something now. And that's exactly what Hunter Yurchek and the board did this morning when they decided to let Coach Pittman go and name Bobby Petrino the interim head coach. And, you know, financially, I think it makes sense. You look at what happened yesterday. So we're at the game. And at halftime, the debacle before halftime, and really the entire first half, but after the fumble and Notre Dame scored just like that to increase the lead and make it look embarrassingly bad, the floodgates opened. It was amazing to watch how many people left the stands at halftime, and they weren't going to the stands to get a drink. I'd beaten them there, was actually in line when Arkansas fumbled and Notre Dame scored again before the end of the half. And the people filed out into the concourse and headed straight for the exits. There was no coming back in the second half. We did go back in and watch the first drive. I was curious how the Arkansas defense, after how poorly they played in the first half, how they would respond in the second half. So I wanted to see from my own eyes how the defense played and give them credit. They did get a 3-and-out. Notre Dame ran one of the best trick punt plays I've ever seen in my life to pick up a first down, but the defense buckled up and got another stop. And so I was like, all right, let's see what Arkansas does. And they marched right down the field and got down to the goal line, did not score on fourth down. I was like, that's it. All right, we're done. So we left and joined about, I would say, if there were 75,000 people there, top 10 crowd ever, there were probably about 35,000 people left in the second half. And that was at the beginning of the half. Then there was another mass exodus. And by the end of the game, there was hardly anybody in there in the fourth quarter. They were all out tailgating. Think of the money they lost right there. You do the math. You go to the concession stand one time in the second half, and each person spends probably $20. I mean, a beer is like $14, $15. You get a Coke, hot dog, whatever, some candy. Yeah, I think it's reasonable to say each person spends another $20 in the second half, and there's 40,000 people at least that left in the second half and didn't buy anything because they went to their tailgate. That's $800,000. They lost in one half. So if you don't make this move and you don't fire Pittman now, what do you think the attendance looks like for the last 4 home games? It doesn't look good. And so people aren't there. They're not going to the concession stand. You're losing money. So at least by doing this, you give a little bit of hope that maybe Bobby Petrino can turn things around and make things interesting for the rest of the season. And on that note, yes, at the bottom of the press release, it did indicate, Hunter Yurchek indicated that Bobby Petrino would be the interim head coach and has already made it known the interest is there to be retained to be the head coach if that's what Arkansas decides. But they said they're on a nationwide search. You know, that's in Petrino's ball court. Now, how does this team react to him? How does the team do the rest of the season? Look, if they turn things around, play well, you got 7 games left. 5 of those 7 are ranked teams. So you got an opportunity. He has the opportunity to turn things around and make a case that he should be the next head coach at the University of Arkansas. But I think a lot depends on how this team looks, responds to him for the remaining 7 games. You got an opportunity with 5 ranked teams. You pull off some upsets, then yes, Bobby Petrino can make a case that he needs to be the next head coach at the University of Arkansas. There are going to be a lot of, and there are already names being floated out. I've received 2 different text messages of 2 names that are on the list. One of them I find interesting. Well, both of them I find interesting. Kenny Dillingham. Need to look into him at Arizona State. Took Arizona State to the playoffs last year. He recruits Texas very well. Doesn't have much support at Arizona State when it comes to finances, NIL. Does not have a big buyout in his contract. And from what I'm told, that Kenny Dillingham may would like to coach in the SEC at the highest level. That's just one name to keep an eye on. And it is an intriguing name to me. I think what he did last year, and by the way, they beat TCU this weekend. Arizona State has been able to do something with nothing. And honestly, unless something changes at the University of Arkansas, that's what the next coach is going to have to do. Do something with nothing or something with less. Because when you look at the NIL money, Arkansas is dealing with a lot less than everybody else. So, if you go that route, you got to find a coach that can use smoke and mirrors, get players in, and do more with less. Or if you can convince the donors, and that's what's going to happen for the rest of this season. It is about convincing donors, finding out big money people what they want to spend in addition to what they've been spending. Can we go out? This is what Hunter Yurchek's pitch has got to be. If you give me the resources, can we pull off another Calipari? Can we shock the football world like we did with basketball? Are there donors out there that will give us that kind of money to not only hire a coach that would shock the world, pay him, his staff, but you got to then increase your spending in the football department, because no big name coach is going to come here with nickels and dimes. He wants to go out and be one of the most competitive because he's one of the best coaches, right? He wants the best players. So you're going to have to go out and have that money to get the best players. That's another option if they can rally the troops and get that kind of money to pull off another shocking hire. Another name that I was told that's on the list, and it makes perfect sense, that's Rhett Lashley. But my question about Rhett Lashley is, why would he leave a great situation at SMU where they have a ton of money? He's got the resources. He's got better resources at SMU than he does at Arkansas. Why would you leave that behind? When you're in the Big 12 and you can go out and out-recruit because you got more money than most of the teams in the Big 12, why would you leave that just to come back home and possibly struggle in the SEC with less resources against teams that have more resources? Why would he want to do that? So even if you go that route, you still got to get more money. You still got to get more NIL money. You got to get better players. Any coach that wants to come here, they want better players. Look, Pittman has been fighting with one arm behind his back, and I'm not going to be one that comes on here and just destroys Pittman for the lack of success he has. I know that he's got his detractors. Well, you got what you wanted. He's gone. But I will always credit Sam Pittman for taking a program that was in disarray at the very bottom. That was an embarrassment, and he dug them out of that hole. Coach Pittman, and I've said this before, he kind of reminds me of Mike Anderson. Love Mike Anderson. Thought he did a great job. Took Arkansas basketball when it was at the very bottom, a low of all lows, and he built them back up to where at least they were respectable. And then that allowed a Musselman to come up and take them up to another level. And now you get Calipari. So it's a building block. And Mike Anderson was part of that building block for Arkansas basketball. I believe, my hope is one day Sam Pittman will be a part of that building block. He took the football department when they're at the very bottom, couldn't win an SEC game, and was able to win SEC games, go to bowl games, win bowl games. So it was a step. Some say a baby step, but I say it's a step. Now it's that next head coach that can build on that and take the program to the next level. But it's all going to start with money. And that'll be the most important discussions that happen between now and December whenever a new head coach is hired. What kind of resources can you gather to hire a new coach to make this job even more attractive so you can get the best possible candidate? That's where we are right now. We are just starting the coaching search, but it does change this season. Being there last night, being at the tailgate parties, being in Fayetteville last night, walking around on Dixon Street, talking to different people, that was the common theme. This season is over. It's over. It's done. You had apathy setting in. People didn't care about the rest of the season. And when you start thinking about what those crowds would have looked like for Texas A&M, for Auburn, for Mississippi State, for Missouri, it was going to be ugly. And so a move had to be made to at least bring some hope back, because all hope was lost yesterday against Notre Dame. So now there is a small glimmer of hope, and it's up to Coach Petrino and these players during the bye week to circle the wagons, try to figure out what they want to do for the rest of this season. I mean, because There's 7 games left. The season's not over. It felt like the season was over, and I think I actually might have said that last night. May have tweeted it. Season's over. It's done. Well, that's what happens on an instant reaction like that after getting blown out at home and embarrassed at home. You're 2-3. Yeah, the last 7 games, 5 of them against ranked teams, tough games. But if they can somehow pull this group together during the bye week, which makes perfect sense why this happened, you got a full week for everyone to grasp, the team to grasp what's going on and make some subtle changes to try, maybe not some subtle changes, make some big changes on the defensive side of the ball and try to figure out how you can stop somebody and how you can win some games coming down the stretch and turn this season around. And so now you got Coach Petrino possibly coaching for his future as a head coach at the University of Arkansas and for the rest of the players. And I've seen some of the tweets, and I'm sure you have too. You know, Coach Pittman, he had his supporters on this team. C.J. Brown was one of them, said that, you know, he will always be a Pittman guy, and that's, you know, they're hurting. No, make no mistake about it. The team is hurting right now. I was looking in. We got some comments coming in. Here's one. Let me pull that up for you. I can show everybody. It's Paul Swinebob. Paul, thank you for watching. Make the call right now because we're not getting Lashley. John Summerall. All right, Paul. Yeah, and I agree. I think Lashley is a but you got to ask. You got to ask. I mean, I would ask. I go swinging for the fences. Why not? I mean, you did it for basketball for Calipari. You swung for the fences, and it worked. You shocked the world. I mean, it was even shocking to me when I heard the news. But why not? What's Dabo's unhappy? Can you get some donor, somebody's? They go, yeah, that would be a great idea. Let's get Dabo. Here's some extra money. Go get Dabo. We'll take care of this. We'll pull another Calipari. Well, I call Saban. I mean, he may laugh at you, but you're not doing your job if you don't at least call and say, hey, is that itch still there? Could we get Jerry to pile in some money and let's go get the best coach in football and see what he could do at Arkansas? But you got to swing for the fences. And Lashley's in that category for me too. I think he's very happy at SMU, but you got to at least try. You got to at least call. But you better have your backup plans. You got your Grand Slam home run hires, but you don't always hit a Grand Slam. You better then have some triples and at very least a double. Keith says, just wrong, Keith. Pepperdine. Hey, I didn't expect to do – you know what? I kind of knew I was going to be doing a show today, but when I left Fayetteville and just threw on the hat, and I wasn't going to take a shower, do my hair, and get all ready for you guys, especially you, Keith. One more coming in here. What do you think about Barry Lunny Jr.? You think he'd come back home? Yeah, I don't know. Look, there are some great candidates out there. Dan Mullen. I would call Dan Mullen. I thought he was good at Florida. He's quirky. You know, I don't know how he works in Arkansas, but the guy can coach. He did a good job at Florida, and I think they ran him out of town a little too quick. And now look at Florida struggling. They're about to have to hire another head coach. Barry Odom, talked to him on Thursday. I don't know if he'd be interested, what that buyout would look like. He's in year 1 at Purdue, but Barry Odom can coach in the SEC. We've already seen that. And I saw this. Let me see if I can find it. Raleigh Williams, man, I like Raleigh a lot. Had him on the show last week, and he tweeted out. And you know, Raleigh's working with agents in that world, that scene right now, and he put out a list of his names of people he would call. He said Rhett Lashley, G.J. Kinney, great young offensive mind, Jeff Traylor, former Razorback running back coach now at UTSA, Ryan Silverfield at Memphis. I mean, what I saw out of that team, the way they play, how hard they play, I wouldn't be opposed. Here's another one for John Summerall. That's what Raleigh said, and Fran Brown. Adam just hit us up, said Dan Mullen, ? Yeah, I'm okay with Dan Mullen. I think he's a good coach, but there are a lot of people that I think right now. And here's another thing. It's good to make the move when they did. So now you can get your ducks in a row and start putting feelers out to see who has real interest in this job. If you wait around till December, you're behind the 8 ball. There are already 3 other schools that have made moves. There are going to be plenty more making moves. It's going to be a busy off season. There are going to be a lot of dominoes that fall between now and then of other coaches that are going to be fired. So while I hate it for Coach Pittman, but I'm not shedding any tears because he's got his buyout. He made a lot of money at the University of Arkansas, and it didn't work out this season. Hate it for him personally. He loves the coach, but you know what? He's going to be okay. Now the concern is Arkansas going to be okay? And by doing this when they did, it gives them a chance to get to work now, because it's going to take some work, because they are behind the 8 ball when it comes to other job openings that will open up when it comes to resources. And the next head coach is going to want those resources. All right, that's it. I went probably a little longer than I was wanting to, but just some couple of names that are already out there that I've been told that are on the list that they will be having discussions with. And just what I saw at the game yesterday. And it was just, honestly, it was very odd to be outside at a tailgate party in the third quarter and look around, and there were thousands of people tailgating, having fun, while inside, I'm literally hundreds of yards away. You could have hit a driver into the stadium from where we were tailgating. 300 yards away, they're playing a football game in front of nobody, while everybody else is outside watching another game, not even the Arkansas game, watching other games and drinking their sorrows away. Odd scene. And about that time, I was like, something's got to happen, because you're not going to get 75,000 people for another game this year. And you may not get 60,000. You may not get 50,000. With what we just saw, all hope was lost. So I'll give Hunter Yurachek a little credit and say he did what he had to do to give at least a glimmer of hope for the rest of the season, to give fans a reason to go back and watch this team for the rest of this, with 4 home games left. All right, it's going to be a big week. We're going to have a lot of things to talk about. After the game, I was like, gosh, here we go again. 2 weeks of talking about another loss with Tennessee coming. I just thought this is going to be rough for the next 2 weeks. Now we have a whole different angle to discuss for the next couple of weeks. Well, for the next couple of months, the coaching search will take over. Honestly, it'll be the top story instead of actually what's happening on the football field. It'll be all about the next head coach at the University of Arkansas and other moves that may happen at the University of Arkansas. We'll get into that at a later time. Well, and Paul's already asking. Paul, I'll show everybody. You think Hunter Yurachek should make the next hire? If they're committed to Hunter Yurachek as being the athletic director for the next foreseeable future, then yes, he has to make the next hire. But if there's a glimmer of doubt, if he is not the guy that the board wants leading this team, raising money for the university, raising money for the NIL program, finding creative ways to raise money for the NIL program, maybe you don't want to get in that third lane, but find some creative way of raising more money so that you can get better players, be able to compete with other SEC schools for top players, so that when you're not watching a game like Arkansas Notre Dame yesterday, make no bones about it, and the athletes, the size of those athletes on the field for Notre Dame didn't compare. I mean, they had some dudes. Arkansas's got a couple dudes. We know that. But Notre Dame had a team full of dudes. They're not even an SEC team. They're one of the best teams. I shouldn't say that. They're one of the best teams in the country. I'll go out and I think Notre Dame wins out. I think they finished 10-2, and it has nothing to do with the way they did Arkansas yesterday. But I saw the dudes that they have on the field. I know what their schedule looks like the rest of the way out. Their back is against the wall. I think they respond. I think I got a great coach, and it would not surprise me. In fact, I'm predicting it. Notre Dame wins out, and they're in the college football playoff. They've got dudes. But you know what? Arkansas's got to get more of those. You can't just rely on a handful of dudes. You got to have a team full of dudes. And that brings me back. If you feel like your AD can go out there and raise the funds and then put resources into the football program so that you have a program that can compete with others, then yeah, he can make that hire. But if you don't have the faith that he can do what needs to be done? No, he doesn't need to be making that hire. You got to go and get you an AD, and then that new AD can hire the head coach. A lot of things going to be happening the next couple months. One more for you. If you got a comment, you can always jump in here. Make Saban say no first. It will show how high we want to set the bar. Yeah, I just said that. I totally agree. Swing for the fence. Doesn't hurt to have someone tell you no. Make them tell you no. That's what they did with Calipari, right? Made him say no. Shock the world. And if they say no, no big deal. Move on to the next candidate. Yeah, this week we'll be talking a lot about this, especially with being the bye week. We know what's coming ahead in Tennessee, but it's going to be a lot of former players will be joining me this week, and they're torn. You know, a lot of the players that we've had on More Sports already, they were Pittman guys, and they believed in Coach Pittman, and they were rooting. So they're hurting today, and they're going to be hurting. So I want to have them on to talk about it, because now they're torn. They want what's best for the program. They also had a guy that they truly loved and respected just lose his job. So we'll have some of those guys on this week talking about the Razorbacks, the future, and where they would like to see the program turn next. All right, that was supposed to be a quick little update after I got back to Little Rock from Fayetteville, and it turned into a 21-minute rant. I appreciate y'all listening, watching, sending in the comments. We'll be back at it tomorrow night for more sports. We got to get going. We got NFL games about to start. Chiefs, big game with the Ravens. Let's go watch that. We'll be back here tomorrow for more sports. Thank you for watching.
All Arkansas, all sports.